Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a few stories up now, including, as I take off my glasses, including one on Bobby Wagner being an investor in the Seattle Storm. Jaden Daniels talking about Terry McLaurin's absence as I fix my hat. And also I had a story that I told you about the other day, I talked to agents, former GMs, former players, coaches about what a holdout is like from each of their perspectives. So I thought it was pretty interesting to talk to them. Give it a read up on ESPN.com. Also, I have some daily camp nuggets that I file every day to ESPN.com that goes to the Commanders page on ESPN.com. So ESPN.com, there you go. Anyway, all there, and I will be doing updates after every practice throughout training camp. So before I get going, as you know, folks, during camp, what I like to do is get out the door fast because I have to leave early. I live 45 minutes from the facility. So what helps? Having my Huel Black Edition. So get to the strawberry banana, the chocolate, put a few ice cubes in a glass. I got a meal for the morning. I'm ready to go. And I feel good until lunchtime. So do yourself a favor, check it out. You go to huel.com, use my special code Keim, Keim. You can get 15% off for new buyers. Now there are some restrictions that you need to check out. Do that, but this is good nutrition, folks. 40 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. Do yourself a favor. Get some Huel Black Edition. So, all right, let's get on to what you want to know about, which is training camp and day one. Folks, it's just fun to be back out here when it starts. I love being out here. You get so much information just watching these guys practice, even if there are no pads yet. And there aren't going to be pads for several days, of course, but you still learn things throughout this because they still have sessions. They still do things that are very important to learn. And again, I talked to you about Bobby Wagner becoming a minority investor in the Storm. A couple of things that jumped out there. One, it stems from a meeting that he had with Kobe Bryant years and years ago. Of course, Kobe died in 2020, but Wagner, huge Kobe fan and wanted to kind of, as he said, continue his legacy. Also, talk to Magic Johnson before doing this because, of course, you have access to Johnson as a minority investor for the Commanders. I think you've gotten to know him before too. But anyway, there you go. And then Daniels, as far as McLaurin goes, he said, hey, it's just business. Now, the one thing that is to their benefit, I've talked about this, the fact that McLaurin was in there last year and worked with Jaden, their rapport will still be strong when he returns. And that's one of the things that Daniel said, like when he's not worried about what it's going to come when he comes back, because it'll be like, it's what they do. They have a good rapport that's not going to be damaged through this. They have a year's worth of time built up, all that money in the bank, so to speak. So when he comes, they'll start withdrawing that money from their past reps. That's going to help. I think if McLaurin had been a rookie, or if they hadn't played together, or if Daniels were a rookie and they hadn't played together yet, that would be a big issue. But you could see their chemistry throughout training camp last year, and they've maintained contact. Of course, any quarterback wants all his guys here, but it will also give some other guys a chance to show more of what they can do and to build up some other rhythm with other receivers. And we'll get to some of that in a minute. But anyways, that's what Daniel has to say. Just business. That story too is up on ESPN.com. Also, another note here too that I think is very important. Dan Quinn speaks to us before each practice. Today, he was asked about Sam Cosmi. Now, he was asked about him yesterday as well. And as they have said all along, he's hit all the markers. The one thing that Quinn said that I thought was really interesting is that the opener is not off the table for Cosmi. That does seem really ambitious, given when he hurt the knee. It was in January. That would be it would be about 8 months from when he first hurt his knee. That would be on the very early end of coming back from an ACL. But they have been pleased and optimistic about Cosmi the entire way. I talked to people back in June, and they were very optimistic, because I even brought up like mid-October, and I think there was like, maybe not. So, because mid-October would be 9 months. So whether or not he's back for the opener, they feel really good that he will be back maybe before people expect. Still have markers to go along the way, still need to get through training camp. And I think we've all learned from the past that I'll go back to the Chase Young situation where we started to hear, oh, he's going to come back soon. And then it just took a while. Part of it because he had a ruptured tendon, not just an ACL. but it was more maybe over promising, and you don't want to do that. So let him go at his pace, but there is optimism about it. And I did watch Cosme go through some of his work off to the side, and a lot of it was they'd have like 3 rows of cones, 3 rows of 3 cones each set up, and he would just kind of like jog, I wouldn't say run to a spot, kind of half go to a spot and then break down into a stance. And they'd have him do some diagonal stuff. So you'd have to kind of go up and then cut off to go away and then get into a stance. So testing the movement all along the way, but at a very good pace. So like that's what he's been doing, but he did work a lot to the side. So those are all good. I watched him do agility work in the spring, look good there. So everything remains on pace for him. By the way, Nick Allegretti has been working with the starters in his place because Andrew Wiley continues to work as a starter with at right tackle. So this is also our first look at Von Miller. He's, it's funny because he's quote unquote only around 240 pounds. So he's not a big guy, but you can see some of that get off. I don't think, we're not going to see a whole lot just yet because they're not in pads yet. Let's see what he looks like in pads. And he just got here. I mean, they all just got here, but so you want to see, it's going to take time to see really what all you can see. But there are some things that jumped out. One, he does say you can see some of that get off. And I think that's going to be a really good challenge for Josh Connolly going against him in camp. And he went against him a couple times today. You also see how he's able to use some of that power. Very good at using the counter moves, et cetera. And I talked about that when he got here last week, my 5 thoughts on him. There was one time against Connolly where it looked like he was able to bull rush him a little bit and drive him back. Connolly was able to start to anchor on that. Ball gets out, but he would have been counted as a pressure for Miller for sure. A couple other times that Connolly looked like he did a good job just kind of riding him wide. But again, a good challenge for him for sure. Like I said, Wiley was spending his time at right tackle. I wouldn't read too much into that. It's funny because Quinn was asked, or somebody was talking about that on the side. The thing to know is Quinn is a big believer in competition. They did not give Jaden Daniels a job. If they did, now Daniels and Mariota early on would rotate with the starters, and then it just became all Jaden with the starters, but he was not officially named the starter until he still went out and proved that he could do it. And this is going to be the same thing with Connolly or Trey Amos, any rookies in that same spot. As Quinn said, the fact that they did that with Daniels last year, there's not a single rookie who can come in here in the future and expect to be handed a starting job. If it wasn't given to Jaden Daniels, it's not going to be given to anybody. Now, I do believe that Connolly eventually becomes that guy. When, I don't know, but would be certainly the expectation, but not going to be handed the job at all. Let's see. I like watching the defensive line group too, because I think that's going to be one of the more interesting groups to watch this summer because of the competition there. Again, I've told you there are going to be some guys that were rotational guys this last year who are not going to make it this year. Who they are yet, don't know, but that's going to be the case. But one of the things I enjoyed watching is just watching some of the drills and how they do it. And like you have Kerrigan out there, Daryl Tapp out there, they have other assistants out there. So one of the things I liked is there was one drill where the D lineman would kind of run up. You have a coach out there with his arm pads and you make a move. Then you go a couple of yards past, you turn back, you make a move. But when you're making that move, they're going to call something out and show you something, and you have to counter right away. So it's designed to really get you to think on your feet and you show something and counter it, right? So I think like that was something that I felt was kind of fun to watch and interesting as well. It does force you to react and again, think on your feet. So one of the other things too, when you're watching the individual stuff, watching the quarterbacks and watching Jaden Daniels, how he changes his arm slot. And so there are a couple times like watching the quarterbacks will work with that net where they have, basically it's left going down. It's a diagonal where they have 3 slots in this net where you can throw the ball into, right? So they'll work on throwing the ball. They'll go through dummy bags, and they'll call it a number 1, 2, or 3. So 1 is the top left, 2 is the middle, 3 is the bottom right. And they have to throw it into that area. So Daniels is really good. And I think he does a better job with staying balanced and throwing the ball. Like there was one time where I was watching him. So you start off, you run to your right, you go around the bag, and they'll call out, like they called that, I think it was 2 or 1 or whatever it is. So he's able to stop and kind of throw sidearm into the lower one, right? And it was a good throw, but it was stopped. He stopped and was balanced when he threw it. Now I contrast that with Josh Johnson, who has a really good arm, mobile and all that. But when he had to do that same thing, his ball sailed over the top because whereas Daniels kind of slid and he started stepping back with it, which I think kept that ball lower. Whereas with Josh going forward, he pushed his momentum and the ball sails over the top. So not to knock on Johnson, it's just that I think that's something that Daniels does very well. And it shows up in games, and it showed up in a throw later. Well, actually in two throws. One wasn't so good, but one was really good. So, but it's why they work on these things. And I'll get to that in a minute. By the way, so his first pass in the 11-on-11 from the 25-yard line, they were starting. All right, I'm going to back up a minute. I'm going a little bit fast. I had some coffee. It's early. Quinn wanted to start off with red zone work. This team was really good in the red zone last year, but they're so good at working on details and situational offense and defense. This was a big part of it. So you start off with a lot of red zone work. That was intentional, and it's what Quinn wants to continue to emphasize. It worked last year, especially for the offense. The defense has to get better there overall too, but this is where they start. So on the first play, you had Tyler Owens was covering Deebo Samuel in the slot. Samuel with looked like a little slot fade, just lost it up there, a dime to Deebo Samuel right here over the corner. Tyler Owens did not have bad coverage on the play, not at all. It was just a perfect throw. But that, and it's funny because maybe if McLaurin's here, do you go somewhere else? I don't know. But it gives him a chance to work on timing and rhythm with others as well, not just McLaurin. So he'll be fine with McLaurin when he comes back, but it also gives Daniels a chance to build up some of that rhythm with some newcomers like a Deebo Samuel. But just a really good throw. And again, Tyler Owens, I told you in the spring, was working a lot in the slot because they want to see, can he handle that, right? And can he be a safety, and then can he come up in the cover of the slot, whether it's tight end or a big receiver? That's going to be a key part to see what he can do for sure. Yeah, and it helps. Like if he can do that, it helps to have a bigger guy like that who can fill a few different roles for you on defense as a safety covering in the slot. He's not, anyways, that's what it is. So the coverage was good on the play. I did like on Jaden on the play, 3 steps, balls out, perfect throw. The rhythm, the timing is good. A couple plays later, he had 3 steps in the middle, steps up in traffic to Zach Ertz. Just a really good throw in traffic, another touchdown. Anyways, it's a couple of good things. By the way, during this time, the defense went with a bigger rush group. So you had Jacob Martin, and then was on left outside linebacker, Javon Kinlaw. You had Eddie Goldman, you had Deron Payne, and then you had Dietrich Wise on the other side. That's a big group. So you have a pass rusher in Martin, but you have some big fellas up front defending the run or whatever, and they actually ran the ball on the play, and offense did not get a whole lot. But again, with the running game at this point, who the hell knows? And this is one thing Quinn said, but I've always said this too. The hardest positions to really gauge in camp, running back, O-line, D-line, because you really need the pads on. You really need to see, again, like with the running back, would he have been tackled or not? Because that's the thing that I always ask that, and they always ask that. The guy was there, but would he have tackled him? We've seen guys in the past who may have been there, and then you put them in a game, they're not making the tackle. So, all right. Again, a lot of work on red zone. You had Ja'Cory Brooks had caught a little slant pass where Marshawn Lattimore looked like he slipped on the play. Grass may have been a little bit wet and caught a pass. Good job. One thing that jumps out too is there's a crispness to these practices, and you can tell that they've been in the system a year. I thought it was good last year, but you can tell that they've been in it for a year. And it's funny because they don't practice. They only practice about an hour and 15 minutes. But I think part of the reason is they are crisp. They do get things done. And so you're not having like a couple of years ago, they're repeating a lot of things. Do it again, do it. You're not hearing that because they're getting it done and they're very sharp with what they do. So this is a professional group. So take that for what it's worth. I'm just kind of going little not so much stream of consciousness, but kind of it. I do like how Mikey Samerstill communicates out there. Like you can see it. There's a confidence in the way he handles himself out there. That's a big deal for them. But I just like the communication was a big issue or a big topic going into camp and throughout the season. But I think it's good. It looks like it's continued for sure. And I think you saw some plays where it definitely made a difference. I just like that there's these young players do that pretty well. Quan Martin does it really well. I think a lot of them do. Jonathan Jones was out there with, I'm going to tell you, he's out there with the first cornerback group with Lattimore on the other side, but that's going to be a rotational thing, right? Because like obviously Sanders still is going to be their guy covering the slot. He's going to be playing a ton. Trey Amos is going to be playing. Lattimore is going to be playing. I think Jonathan Jones will have a role. Noah Igbenogany made a couple plays out there, breaking up some passes. So I think they're in God, my goodness, folks, they are in a much better spot at corner than they were a year ago. Even if Lattimore gets hurt or misses some time, they're still in a better spot than they were a year ago at that position. Saw Jeremy Reeves breaking up a pass to Ben Sinnott. You had Mariota, I think it was on 7-7, has to extend a play out to his left. Reeves is covering Sinnott down the left sideline. Sinnott comes back for the ball. Reeves breaks with him, breaks up the play. Just a really good job by Jeremy Reeves. Then we get to the 12-yard line, and that's where, this is one where I was talking about like the arm slots too. So this is one, there's a pressure blitz. The defense gets to Jaden, and he's starting to back up as he throws, and he a little bit changed the arm angle, but he threw it over McCaffrey's head. So there's one play where it's like, okay, not exactly what you wanted to do. A couple plays later, he extends the play to his right, directs McCaffrey in the back. You can see him kind of point to McCaffrey in the back. He's end him. McCaffrey kind of takes his guy and then pivots back to the outside, touchdown throw. I'll get to the other Jaden throw in a minute. So from the 5-yard line, on his first throw, let's see. First throw, he's going to Chris Moore against Lattimore, not there. Didn't get the ball quite, I think, as far as he wanted to, but Lattimore was right in his face, and it was an incompletion. Here's the other one from Daniels. This is one of the things I've really appreciated him from last year, and also watching him now in the pocket, congested pocket over the middle. But it's where he puts the ball. He throws over the middle to Eckler, but it's where he puts the ball, puts it down low, because there's defenders converging. They're not getting to that ball when it's down low. So Eckler was able to grab it, touchdown, but just a good job. And again, get that low arm slot. He can throw from different arm slots, and that really helps him for sure. So, and by the way, kicker Matt Gay, 6 for 6 from the 30, going from the 32 all the way to the 52. So good sign. No kicker competition in camp. He's got the job, but you got to maintain it. The one thing we know with kickers, if you don't maintain it, you're going to be gone. So, folks, that's it for day one. Hope you got something out of this. I'll be back on day 2 talking about more of this stuff. I got some video that I want to kind of go over and watch. I'd like to go over and watch the video again to see, are there any little things I can pick up from watching the video that maybe you missed during practice, the way somebody uses their hands, the way they run a route, whatever it is. Anyway, folks, that's day 1 for training camp. I'll be back on Thursday with another episode. So I will talk to you next time.